Hi humans, Lord Juice back, and funny here, I'm just a Brazilian man who's been trying to survive, or not, it depends on the day. As you can see, as you can listen to, I'm a gay man, and we are on the Pride Month, so I decided to record some videos about my gay Brazilian experience. And today's video, I'm going to talk with you about how it was like having a church as a school. Spoiler alert, it sucks. It sucked. So, to start the story, I need to mention that even though I was that kind of child who are always quiet, who used to say no to playing with the other kids just to be alone at home talking with imaginary friends or reading books, because I started like reading like super young. But even with all that quiet thing, I have always been the kind of child who, when I see something that I don't agree, I say it out loud. I have always been like that. And it actually caused me a lot of pain and yeah. People punish you when you say the truth and they have power over you. So I was raised in a really super Christian family. There are actually priests and pastors on my family, and that sucks too. And so I was kind of forced to go into like Christian schools, and one of them was actually inside a church because, as you know, a church will do anything to get more money because that's all about money. And as a child, I've read the book and and even as a child, and when I was a child, I've read the Bible, from the page 1 to the last page probably 3 times. Every time I would see something like that I disagree or didn't understand, I used to question. I used to literally like ask why it's like that, who chose to be that, who is the guy who wrote this book to say that we should do these things. And usually the answer was, punishment. Yeah, that's Christianity. And inside the Christian schools, it wasn't different at all. I remember once that I asked why we had like a religion class, and it was only about one religion. And I used to wonder a lot, okay, we're learning about religion, but we are not actually learning about religion. We are learning about Christianity because we are only talking about one religion. And actually, when the class was about other religions, it was more up like they are something the devil created because that's the only religion, that's the only truth, that's the only God. And I used to like stand up and making questions like, okay, but who said that's the truth? Who said that this thing that you were teaching us is the only truth? Because those other people from other religions believe in that too, believe in their religions, and why our religion is the right one? And I used to get punished a lot on school until I get to a point that I used to like shut up and don't say anything for 5 minutes because I can't hold myself. I need to say things. And I remember that I used to get pissed because every Wednesday, it was Wednesday, yeah. Every Wednesday we would go to, really the church itself to pray, and a pastor would come and pray for us and teach something about the Bible. I used to get mad because the thing that I liked most about the school was to learn something, and I didn't want to learn about the Bible. Boring. Boring. That's probably the only moment in my life that I knew that the only right thing to do was skip class. I used to fake that I was sick every Wednesday just to don't go to school, to be in a church like for the whole morning, listening something about the Bible. And even during the weekends when we really had to go to the church, I used to fake being sick because I used to hate that. And I remember once that I had super. I mean, all of them were homophobic, but this one homophobic teacher in particular, what basically she pointed a finger on my face and started screaming at me in front of like 20 people, and it was the most humiliating thing that I had to go through in my life. And I was probably 9 years old. This was a different school. It wasn't on a church, but it was a Christian school, and we have religions classes too. That sucks. But I remember that once a week we used to go to another place to watch a usually a biblical movie and discuss about it. And I remember that we watched a movie. I don't remember what movie exactly, but when we were like coming back to the class, I mean, there was like this guy that looked a lot like me, at least as a child, and he's gay too, by the way. And I remember that he was walking in front of the whole class, in front of all the children there, and the teachers were like really behind us. And he did like a small dance, like I mean something normal, something. I mean that no normal person would see something wrong in that. He just like did a small dance in front of everyone. And when we got inside the classroom, the teacher thought that I was the guy dancing in front of everyone, but it wasn't me. But oh, both ways, what's wrong with that? And when we got into the classroom, she started like pointing her finger literally on my face, and she started screaming that God created Eve and Adam, God created a woman and a man to be together, and everything different than that was wrong. But she was literally screaming and pointing a finger on my face, and all the other 20 students were just staring at us, didn't understand what was happening. And I remember like just saying, what happened? And she started like screaming even louder, saying that I knew I was wrong, I knew that was something like that is shameful. And I remember her screaming over and over again about God creating a woman for a man, and not something different than that, that God created even Adam to be together as a man and a woman should be. And I remember that she started like screaming on my face, and at that time I didn't understand why that was wrong, everything she was saying, not only the whole screaming thing. But I remember like realizing, and I didn't know I was gay at that time, but I knew she was pointing on that direction in me, something in me that she was seeing, and that's why she were basically humiliating me in front of people. Yeah, and in front of kids, and kids can be mean. So yeah, and I remember just feeling, I mean, super mad and angry, but at the same time, I was feeling super hurt, like there was something wrong about me. And after that I understood that she was like mad and screaming because he saw a kid like doing like a small dance, just something like that. And even if it was something like different than that, yeah, you shouldn't I mean humiliate like kids. And even though I didn't understand what was happening exactly, I knew she was wrong. I didn't know what wrong mean, but I knew she was wrong. I knew she was saying something stupid. I just didn't know why or what it was. And the worst part was when I got home, I started like explaining the whole situation to my mother. And I remember that my uncle was like listening to it too, and he went mad, he went super angry about the situation. And in that moment I thought, oh, he understood what I understood, that there is literally something wrong in that, in what she did, I mean in what she was saying, because I knew it was wrong. But what he did instead was getting mad and getting angry, not because of the things she said or she screaming at my face. He started saying that he was going to school, he was going to pick a fight with the teachers because they were saying that his nephew was something and his nephew would never be that thing, that was the other kid. And I mean, he was mad not because of what she did or what she said, but because the other kid is the problem and she thought it was me. And he started like attacking, not attacking, but and he started like calling the other kid that looked like me a lot of names. And I remember that I felt so hopeless in the moment because I was trying to explain that no, the problem's not a kid dancing. It could be me, it could be anyone. And he started screaming, no, you would never do such a thing because you know that's disgusting. And I was like, what's happening? And I was trying to explain that the thing was that was wrong. What was that what she was saying and what she did, and not about the dancing, but he started like getting angry and talking like he would like go to the school and make that kid being expelled from school from being different and affecting the other kids. And and in that moment I think I realized that I couldn't like make those people understand anything. In that moment I realized that there were things that would make people humiliate me for, even though it wasn't something bad. But I knew I didn't understand what it was about, but I knew it was wrong. And I knew that that reaction came from something, some place inside of that teacher, inside my uncle, inside the Christian, inside the Christians, something wrong in them, and not something wrong about what the kid did or what they were talking about, because I didn't know they were talking about being gay. I was just listening to her screaming about Adam and Eve, and I was like, what about them? I mean, what? I didn't know that it was about the gay thing because I didn't know about what was gay, what was being gay, because growing up in a Christian family, you just are raised to be dumb, so you just don't know what happens in the planet. But I knew she was trying to attack something in me, and I knew that that something in me wasn't wrong, but the prejudice in her was wrong. And that situation was probably the biggest one. But a lot of things used to happen. I used to listen to a lot of shit things, and I was a playful child. I used to like making jokes and make people laugh. But that side of mine was something that used to make people get angry with me and humiliate me and treat me bad and different from the other kids. So with time, because of those Christian schools and all that repression, I started like transforming myself, at least in school, into not only a quiet kid, but also an angry kid. I remember that after I left those Christian schools, I used to pick fights on school. I used to have a fight in school every day because I needed to be that way so people wouldn't see my good side, because my good side was what made people hate me and treat me like shit. And I'm not talking about the students, because I have always handled like my classmates right. And I have always found ways to deal with people. But about the teachers, about the adults themselves, it was something that I got so afraid of their reactions towards me that I started being like a super aggressive kid, and I used to pick fights a lot. And that only changed when I was probably like 14 to 15 years old because of a friend I met. And that's it. This video doesn't have an ending because that was it. My experience as a gay guy on Christian schools that luckily I didn't have to stay there after I was like 10 years old probably. And but before that I went to a lot of Christian schools, even one in a church, and it was literally hell on earth. I have always liked schools because it was the place that I used to study, and I have always liked to study. But about the social effect, those years were so torturing for my mind. There are some still feel triggers in my mind, some fear triggers that I still have that comes from that young age. And that's my, I mean, experience being gay in Christian schools. The kids were actually okay, even those one who try to mess up with you. I have always been like the crazy kid, so I would make people being scared of me. So the kids were okay, but the teachers and the adults were like hell. So that's my experience. What you think? Have you ever like had to go into a Christian school? I hope you're safe and happy, and remember that you're special. People will say things different than that, but you're special and you're perfect the way you are. And if you're here, Cavill, please call me. So that was this video, and now I'm going to the gym because I need to get like strong and super muscled. Bye.